Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Riftbound Midweek Market Watch. This is an ongoing series where I'm going through all the different cards that are on the rise or cards that are dropping in price, as well as sealed products, the goal of which to just give you a taste for where the market looks like right now, where things are rising, where things are falling, and everything in between. So, without further ado, you guys know I don't like to waste time, so let's get started with our sealed products. Origins booster boxes are not looking cheap, let me tell you. Right now, we're looking at a $294 price point for an Origins booster box, which is more than double MSRP. Again, MSRP hovering around 120. I believe it's 120 if you bought it from Riot, plus 20 or so dollars for tax and shipping if you got it straight from them off their website. So you're looking at 140, maybe 150 if you bought this at MSRP. And that's not $300. So still very, very expensive. I'm still, I've seen a lot of comments on my videos of people saying that I'm giving bad financial advice. Nothing I'm saying is don't take it as financial advice. This is all my opinion. This is all just how I'm approaching the market and the things that I'm doing. Take it with a grain of salt. If you want to go ahead and buy an Origins booster display case because you think it's going to rise in price and you want to invest in it, then be my guest. That's your decision and it's totally fine. Just from my perspective, I would not be paying these prices for this kind of product. I don't think it's worth it. Again, Origins booster packs right now sitting around a $15 market price. And most of these packs are not going to have very valuable cards in them. A lot of the time, you're going to open a pack and you're going to find two rares that are worth less than $1. Maybe like a Sabotage might bump it up, because I think Sabotage is around $6. You might find like, a Karma, maybe a Fiora, something like along those lines where they're kind of like middle of the road value. And even those cards are going to raise the price of the pack or the value of the pack up to maybe $7, maybe $8. Most of the time, you're not making your money back on a pack, on just your average pack. So I'm still holding off on buying booster packs at that price. My local game stores, most of them are out of product or they're rationing it and giving it only to players or saving it for their Nexus Night prizes, which I totally understand, and I think that's the right approach. But you should not be paying this much for booster packs. So if someone's scalping this stuff, like getting it at Walmart and trying to sell it to you for $15 a pack, I personally recommend not buying from them. Let them sit on that and not make their money back. And that's the only way to combat the scalping market. So that said, these are the prices. So market price $300 for a booster box, $17.67 for a booster display case, and then $15 for a booster pack. The starter decks hovering around $30 each. Victor a little bit more popular, so $36 right now, and then Proving Grounds sitting at $156. Proving Grounds down a little bit over the last 7 days. But I suspect that it'll kind of stay around that price or maybe even go up because I'm pretty sure they said they're not printing Proving Grounds again. They're just including those cards into Nexus Night promo packs. So the box itself will kind of become a collector's item, I would assume. I opened mine like a week ago. So, I'm out of that as far as collecting goes. But I assume that these boxes, since they're not going to be printed, the price will probably go up because the cards inside are going to be reprinted in foils and put into Nexus Night packs during the Spirit Forge set. But when it comes to the actual box itself, I don't think they're reprinting that. At least that's what I've heard. Okay, let's get right into the cards themselves. I've set this date range. Once again, this tool I'm using is called Magical Meta. It's a website. You guys can check it out. I'll put the link in the description. Really cool site. It kind of takes in all the prices from TCG Player and then gives you graphs for each card that you look at and gives you the price over time, and you can set your date range as well as a bunch of different filters. So what I've done is I've taken sealed product off of this because right now we just want to look at the cards, and my date range I have set to 7 days, so just the last week. And within the last week, we've seen some really interesting shifts in the market. Namely the seals. You'll notice that these two seals, Seal of Strength and Seal of Insight, have seen incredible gains recently. 126% on Seal of Strength, 74% on Seal of Insight. And then you've also got Mystic Reversal, which has gone up about 50% as people are kind of putting that in either as a one-off or sometimes sideboarding it for certain matchups. Mystic Reversal being a really good card if you're running a green deck against Kaisa and you Mystic Reversal their Acathian Rain. That's basically the game, right? Like you can win the game on the spot off of that. So a lot of people are, using this to kind of combat the Kaisa meta. And because of that, I think Kaisa's popularity has been decreasing, and you've seen increases in the popularity for other decks, including Annie, which we kind of see down here. Surprising that she's declining, but I think that makes a little bit sense, and we'll get into that in a second. So as far as high value, these are the top 10 gainers. You're going to see a lot of the signature over numbers and regular over numbers on this list because they're all going up. They're all, there's fluctuations, but they're all rising in value. So like I said, I think in my last video, these are the cards, these over numbers and the signature over numbers are the ones that I think will retain their value the best over time because I don't think they're reprinting them. And also, they're very hard to pull. They're very, very difficult to pull. So we see that Ari has risen in price about $55 since in the last 7 days. Kaisa has gone up $30. The Darius, Leona, Set, Victor, all seeing increases. And then this GG Easy Teemo. I got a lot of comments on my last video, maybe not a lot, maybe just a couple, saying that I didn't know what I was talking about and that GG Easy Teemo was a collector's item and would retain its value and never drop, and it's going to stay an expensive card, and that selling it is the wrong decision. I am still I'm a little more torn on it now as I've come around to that perspective. Some people, I've seen it pulled. I've seen it pulled once at a Nexus night, and I've been to a couple of different Nexus nights in the last couple of weeks. I've only seen it pulled once. I've heard of it getting pulled a second time by another friend of mine, but as in terms of actually seeing the card, I've only seen it twice or heard of it being in my vicinity twice. So it does seem pretty difficult to pull. And this is only going to be found in these Nexus Night promos. It sounds like they're not reprinting it for the next set. So my theory on it going down in price was based on the fact that in the next couple of months, a lot of these Nexus Night promos are going to be opened and more Teemos will flood the market. And so the price will slowly go down. I still don't think it's worth $365. I think that's an insane price for one card. That being said, it is a collector's item. People will be looking for it as kind of a memento of this era of Riftbound, the launch of Riftbound and, going to Nexus nights and playing these games. It's going to evoke some kind of nostalgia for people. So I can see why it might retain its value. That said, I have talked to the owners of local game stores near me, and they've said that they're getting a second wave of these Nexus Night promo packs, and they're getting, tons of orders of those shipped in mid-December. So it sounds like those promo packs are going to be going up in supply. And with that, you're going to see a lot more Teemos coming out. So my suspicion is that this will go down in price, but I definitely understand the sentiment that people have of thinking that it's going to be a collector's item and is going to retain its value. So we'll have to see. Again, this is all speculation. It's just my opinion. We'll have to see what happens to that one. We get down past the over numbers. You've got Showstopper down here that is gone up in price. And that's because Set has been like a very popular deck recently, right? Set is a good counter to Kaisa in a lot of different ways. And Showstopper is a really good card in Set decks. It's almost always 3 times in any Set deck you run, just because of how good the card is. This price fluctuation, let's see where it was, $66 7 days ago, got up to 86 and then came back down to 82. And that's kind of where it settled now. People are buying this card. People are loving this card. It's pretty expensive for a signature spell at 82. I think a Cathian Rain is the only one that's up there at that price point. So it's seeing a lot of play. Okay, let's get into the decliners now. The Ari launch exclusive promo has dropped a ton. Last week when we made this video, the price on this Ari was $170. And since then, it has dropped all the way down to $97. That's a $70 decrease, which is crazy. Again, this is the Ari Alluring, the Green Ari launch exclusive promo. So you'd get this if you went to Gen Con or some pre-launch event before the game came out. Not really sure why that one in particular is decreasing, but it is. So there you go. The signatures for Teemo, Lee Sin, and Leona have dropped a little bit, about $20 each. The Riot Fist Bump promo has dropped a little bit. And then here's something interesting. You see Dazzling Aurora and Deadbloom Predator, and both of those have dropped a little bit. Dazzling Aurora by about 12%, Deadbloom about 9%, so about $10 off each of those. And my suspicion on this is I have two reasons for why I think these are dropping. One reason is that they were overinflated to begin with. I think there was a lot of hype around this set, and as soon as the set came out and people started playing these decks and people got Master Yi and wanted to play Aurora decks, there was a lot of hype about how strong Aurora was and how good it was, especially against Kaisa, and just beating every other type of deck in the meta. Since then, because so many people were playing that deck, people have found ways to beat it. People have played more aggressive things. People have realized that Darius is really good at just kind of beating Yi out early on and getting ahead of the Aurora to the point where it doesn't have its effect. People have been side decking in lots of gear removal. Like basically every sideboard in the game has gear removal for Dazzling Aurora. And so anyone coming to these Nexus Nights or these tournaments playing Dazzling Aurora knows that, they're going into it knowing that everyone has tech options to play against it, right? There's no other deck like that. I mean, some people have tech options. Maybe every deck has a tech option against Kaisa in case they face a Kaisa, but the other tech options are being sent towards Dazzling Aurora. So lots of gear removal. People are realizing that this is beatable, and the prices are going down as people play other things. So Dazzling Aurora is dropping a little bit. Dead Bloom for the same reason. You find this in Aurora decks for the most part. I think some people might be playing it in like Control Misfortune or Control Yi without Aurora. That is possible, but it really, like, these two cards go hand in hand, right? So you're seeing some decreases there. Invert Timelines, this is one that was up a little bit last week, now dropping a little bit as well. Let's see, it's down $9 off the 7-week. Yeah, so we saw it climb to about $50 last week, and now it's kind of dropping back down. Invert Timelines is a really good tech card against certain matchups. I've seen it run in Yasuo decks. I've seen it run in Annie. I think a lot of these Annie decks that are doing well in tournaments have been running Invert Timelines. So it's still a pretty decent card. $43 though is not too cheap. So you have to really decide if you want to run it and if it's worth buying to you. But I think I traded mine away. I opened one and I traded it away pretty much immediately. Master Yi and Annie both decreasing a little bit. And this is because, Proving Grounds orders were shipped out last week, maybe a week and a half ago. And so a lot of people are getting their Proving Grounds orders in, and so you're getting this flood of Master Yi and Annie and all the Proving Grounds cards coming into the market. So there's less demand for them as people are getting their hands on copies of Master Yi. And as supply goes up, demand kind of settles out and meets that supply, and now the prices are dropping on these cards. Okay, let's talk about mid value. Let me take a sip of chai really quick. All right, let's talk about mid value. We've got Darius Executioner, the alt art, yellow Darius. It's climbed up a little bit. 76% is a lot to climb. I think this was, what were we looking at? Yeah, $8 a week ago. Now it's basically doubled in price, which is pretty insane. I think this is because a lot of people are playing Darius and realizing that it's a really good tempo. It's aggressive, but I would say it's more mid-range. Like, it kind of just takes control of the mid game, and it does beat Aurora. So I think that's why people are playing Darius more, and it makes sense they want to, get their deck as blinged out as they can with alt arts. Same thing with Set. Yellow Set is being played in Set decks now, and Set's performing really well in tournaments. I think Set's a tier 1 deck. He's not S tier like Kaisa is, but he's in the next tier, like next to Yi and Annie. The Chaos Rune, this is interesting. 42% increase. This is the Nexus Knight promo, the purple Chaos Rune. Interesting that this one is rising. I'm not sure why. It might be because people are playing Annie. That's probably what it is. There's more Proving Grounds out. There's more Annie being played, and people want to, put purple runes into their Annie decks. That's probably why. Nocturne's up as well. Nocturne I really like. I actually put Nocturne in my Yasuo deck, and I know he's run kind of in this, discover the top cards of your deck package. You include Nocturne 3 times. You include 3 stack deck, 3 traveling merchant, and then some people put in 2 or 3 Mystic Poros as well. And that package by itself into any purple deck can be very effective at kind of cheating him out and getting him onto battlefield. And getting, cheating out a Nocturne early on in the game can win you the game sometimes, because it's just 4 might for 1 power that you just get out onto potentially a battlefield, but if not, at least to your base. And it has ganking, so it provides an extreme amount of tempo if you're able to hit that combo. So Nocturne going up in price. Sona is being played more. I think Sona is being played more in Ahri these days. I haven't seen her played in any other green decks. I have yet to play against a Leona, for the record, but I've had Sona played against me in Ahri matchups, and it's brutal. I mean, Sona readying 4 runes at the end of my opponent's turn. Basically, she comes out for free because she readies the runes that were used to to pay for her. And then they can use buff spells and responses to save their units, like On Guard and Discipline. So it's just really hard to get rid of Sona once she's on a battlefield, and she constantly gives your opponent, they can be much more like liberal with how they spend their resources, because they know they're going to get 4 at the end of their turn to protect their units on your turn. So Sona, very good, going up in price. We also see Tasty Faithful climbing a little bit. Makes sense. Tasty Faithful has Accelerate, and it just is a really good kind of ramp card for the green color. Like, it does a lot of things, right? It gives you card draw, it gives you runes, it has Accelerate, so you can use it to take battlefields. Your opponent doesn't want to kill it, but they kind of have to kill it because it kind of just sits on a battlefield. So it's just a really great late game drop. It's usually the top end for a lot of these green decks. Cadrigrin growing up. Cadrigrin going up. Not sure why Cadrigrin would be going up. Maybe people are playing Volibear or putting him in other things. I'm not sure, but I don't think he's very good really in any decks that are currently being played. So really interesting there. Lee Sin, Altar, and then the Chaos Rune again, probably because of Annie. Top 10 decliners, you've got Master Yi coming in, probably because more Proving Grounds is flooding the market, and so people are getting their hands on him, and the demand isn't as high. Calm Rune is still up there, but it's dropping. Remember, this last week, the Calm Rune from the Nexus Knight promos was a card that was shooting up for some reason, and now it's kind of dropping a little bit. Immortal Phoenix dropping. Zanya's Hourglass is dropping, which is good news for me because I love this card, and I think it's really good in basically every deck that wants to run powerful green minions. You just save your unit. This is a 3x in my Yasuo deck just because it's so important to keep units alive in that deck. Victor Leader dropping a little bit. Leona, Annie, Noxian Guillotine dropping, which is sad because I have a playset of this and I really have no interest in playing Darius at the moment. So I was hoping to trade that away, but the value is dropping. So who knows if I will. Set the Boss. This is the release promo of the set Legend. So when you went to these release events, you got a little pack that came with a single Legend, which is a rare card, and then it had one of 3 promos behind it, and those promos were the epic versions of either Jinx, Victor, or Lee Sin's champion units. The set one, very popular for some reason and was pretty expensive, but now it's dropping a little bit. And then finally, we've got Lux. Same reason why Annie and Master Yi are dropping. Proving Grounds is out and more people are getting their hands on it. Finally, we'll get into the decliners. Recruit the Vanguard. You're going to see a lot of these decliners are cards from the Proving Grounds. You got Blessed Power, Annie, Master Yi, Tibbers. As far as the gainers, makes sense that Yellow Says going up because set decks are doing well. Find Your Center is being played a lot. Rasa is being played a lot now in these purple decks. I think Rasa's played in Annie, but pretty much any deck that plays Traveling Merchant, Stack Deck, Mystic Poro, like those cards that are used to kind of look at the top of your deck, and the Traveling Merchant is used to discard things and draw. A lot of those decks will play Rasa because he is just a really good late game bomb. He just comes out into the field, oftentimes for free. And if not for free, you're at least getting a big discount on him. Sometimes he comes out for 2 energy and a single power. Maybe 4. I think 4 is the sweet spot where you want to play him at, either 4 or less. But yeah, really good late game card. Grove of the Godwillow increasing, Vi, Ride the Wind. It's funny to see Vi and Ride the Wind next to each other. You've got this strategy as a late game for Jinx and Annie called Vi the Wind. You can play Vi, use her ability to just stack her up with might, just get her an insane level of strength by recycling stuff from your discard pile. Oftentimes she's, a 10 plus after you recycle cards from your discard pile. And then you play Ride the Wind on her and you move her to a battlefield and ready her, and she can take that battlefield, and then she's ready so she can gank over to the other battlefield and score you another point. And so a lot of the times, Jinx and Annie decks, just all they're trying to do is get to 6 points. And then on their last turn, they drop Vi, use her ability, and take both and get the double conquer for the win. So Vi the Wind, it's cool to see that this strategy is increasing or going up in price a little bit. Windwall, Primal Strength, Lecturing Yordle, and then Acceptable Losses all increasing as well. Let's take a look at, these are the Spirit Forged cards. Legend cards. Everything's increasing. I'm going to go through these really quickly. Everything's increasing except for, again, the Teemo, Leona, and Lee Sin have gone down a bit. Cheapest card being Darius at $450. and Kaisa at $1,500. So that's still very expensive. Kaisa still beating out Ari by about $200 here between the two of them. But those are the only two above $1,000. Everything else is hovering in the 450 to 720 range. When you take a look at the overnumbers that are not signed, most expensive is Ari. So $173 on the overnumbered Ari, non-signature, and then Kaisa. Then you got Set, Victor, Timo, and then you come all the way down. I think the cheapest one is, still Darius at $70. So no love for this Darius art. I actually like this card quite a lot. The artwork on it I think is just funny. So I like this art more than a lot of the other ones, but for whatever reason, Darius is the least desired or least expensive overnumber of the bunch. But these all range from about 70 all the way up to about 170. So not too bad for those overnumbered cards. When it comes to alternate arts, as we saw last week, this is very top-heavy list. Kaisa, $87. And then the next most expensive alternate art is Set Brawler at $37. So people really want that red Kaisa just because she's really good in her deck, and she's basically an auto-include in any red deck. And so that alternate art being really cool as well. People want to buy that. $87 for Kaisa, and then Set, and then you've got 27 on Ari, 26 for Darius, Red Darius, 23 for MF, and then it kind of trickles down from there. All the way down, what's the least expensive? These are Spirit Forged. Oh yeah, it's still Blue Victor. Poor Blue Victor, still just a strictly worse version of Yellow Victor, so not seeing much love. Let's look at epics. This list is not as top-heavy as it used to be. Time Warp, Dazzling Aurora, and Dead Bloom still at the top here. Of course, you got White Flame Protector. Really cool to see White Flame Protector actually being more expensive than Dazzling now, which is interesting. I think White Flame is being played on its own without Dazzling, and it's being put into Master Yi, as well as some Yasuo lists. So really cool to see that. Kaisa still at 78. I think she was, where was she before? A week ago, Kaisa was sitting at 73. So not too many increases, like dollar-wise, but she's still pretty expensive, especially for a champion unit. You've got Seal of Unity, which has seen huge increases recently. I was lucky enough to pull a second copy in a box recently. And Seal of Unity is being run in these like baited hook Darius decks, as well as in Victor decks. And I saw a really cool list recently that was a Victor mono yellow deck. So you don't run any cards that have blue power costs, and you run only the yellow ones. And some of your blue drops are just, Watchful Sentry and a couple of the cheaper spells like Smokescreen and things like that. And Seal of Unity, really good in that deck. You think you run Commander Ledros, you run a couple copies of Vengeance as well, Spectral Matron, things like that cost yellow power. Invert Timelines and Baited Hook around the $40 range. Seal of Rage, Set Brawler, Seal of Insight, all kind of in this 27 to 36 range. The seals are all kind of going up. That's actually really interesting to look at. Let's look at seals really fast. Just type in seal and then origin set so we don't see the new ones. So these are the 6 seals in the game. Most expensive being, let's order these by most expensive, price high to low. Seal of Unity is at the top at $48. And then Seal of Rage at $36. Seal of Insight, the blue one, at $27. Seal of Strength at $27. And then Seal of Discord and Seal of Focus, both around the $20 mark. So green and purple are pretty cheap as far as seals go. I think those decks don't really benefit from seals as much because they don't have as many power demands as the yellow and red colors do. But neat to see that these are all increasing. And with the announcement of the new overnumbered seals coming in Spirit Forged, I suspect that these will get cheaper over time because people are going to want to get the cool ones from Spirit Forged. But we'll have to see what happens to the market. And then finally, let's see. We'll talk about rares really quick. So the average cost for rare is $3. But again, very top heavy with Thousand-Tailed Watcher at $44. Zanya's at $13. Falling Stars at $13. Darius Trifarian at $12. Nocturne, again, seeing those massive increases. So Nocturne's now up there next to Darius at $11. Tasty Faithful Kiana, also around the $11 mark. You're seeing Mundo, because Mundo is run 3 times in Teemo very often, as well as a tech option in the Kaisa v Kaisa matchup. I have 2 copies of Mundo in my Kaisa sideboard, so I suspect that's the reason why he's up here at the top of this list. Sona, Fiora, Annie. But then, you get down to all these cards, and they're all between, $3, $7, and even some of the Proving Grounds rares are actually really cheap. So I like that in this game, rare cards can be obtained for not that much money. That feels good for the game. Let's talk about the rune cards finally. So these are the alternate art runes that come from Nexus Knight packs. You'll see that they range from about $12 all the way up to $19. Chaos being the most expensive, then Fury, then Calm. Chaos has seen a lot of increases again because I think people are trying to put this purple rune into their anti decks, and that's why it's the most expensive. But these are the ones that you'll be pulling out of your Nexus Knight promo packs if you go to those events at local game stores. And then finally, the normal runes. Where are they? There we go. All right, this is the alternate art runes. So alternate art runes range from 1950 at the Chaos rune all the way up to 35. Actually, it's 36 for the Fury rune. Again, Fury and Mind are the most expensive because they're the Kaisa colors and people want to really shine up their Kaisa decks with 6 Mind and 6 Fury alternate art runes. So that makes sense. Body's up there because Aurora's popular, I think. Order because the yellow color is really good and people are playing Darius and playing Victor a lot. And again, that mono Victor deck I think is seeing more popularity. And then Chaos and Calm kind of at the bottom. But yeah, the difference in price here is really just the Fury and Mind are plus 30 or over $30, and the other ones are all hovering around $20. Interestingly, the alternate art runes for these 4 colors at the bottom are about the same as the ones for the Nexus Knight promos. And I don't know why, because these ones have foiling but also texture on them, and the Nexus Knight promos don't have texture. So I would always think that the alternate arts from packs would be more expensive at any given time just because of the texture on them. But I guess people are looking for those Nexus Knight promos. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys coming back for these videos. I have a giveaway from last week. I think the last giveaway I did was on this video, but last week. And that should be going through any day now. I'm very close to that 1,111 subscriber mark if I haven't hit it, in the last hour or so. So that giveaway will be going out soon. As I said on that video, I'm going to be waiting, I think 48 hours is what I said, before I pick a random comment from that video and then send that giveaway off to that person and communicate those details. So you still have time. If you're seeing this video and you want to go and enter that giveaway, you might still have a couple of hours to do that. So make sure you go and watch that one and enter that giveaway if you want to win the Victor starter deck and a couple of extra cards. Thanks so much for tuning in again. Hope you guys have a great week and happy Thanksgiving. Peace.